have made it very known that they want to continue in this universe as much as possible. So they have also said in no uncertain terms that they are going to do spin-offs. Hello, Big Show nerds. I know it looks a little bit different every episode. It's because I have projects that happen and things get moved, so I apologize. It'll get back to normal. Maybe. I don't know. But you are watching the Nerd News Headlines. I, of course, am Dustin, bringing you the headlines. We do have a reminder before we jump into the news that next 2 weeks out, at the end of October, I will be taking a week off, which means we will only have one episode. And now that I'm looking at it again, it might be the first episode for the week. So the second episode will not happen. But again, at the end of November, we'll be taking time to scale things back so I can gear up for Season 3, all the way through the month of December and into the month of January. All of that being said, let's jump into the news. Into TV streaming. So we have a couple of follow-ups here. The more interesting follow-ups, I think, are in the next section, and that is music. And this section has the more interesting news. So we'll pump these follow-ups out real quick. So first off, we have a follow-up on The Boys, Season 3. This is not the spin-off series that we've talked about extensively at this point, but we did get a little bit of an update from Season 3 from Eric Kripke himself, who is the showrunner for The Boys. He said that Soldier Boy is definitely going to be in Season 3. We know this already. He's going to be played by Jensen Ackles. But also his team. Why did I not write down? Of course not. I didn't write down the name of the team. I apologize. It's on the tip of my brain and I just can't think of it. And I didn't put in the notes because I take amazing notes. But yeah, so the team that Soldier Boy is on in the comic books is going to be in the Season 3. And we're going to see a bit more of a backstory on Compound V and how it factors into what we know of as soups in this universe. So it's going to be a very interesting Season 3. Our other follow-up is legitimately kind of shocking because it is a bit of a retraction that, all right, so everyone was reporting last week. I mean, I do so many shows, man. It's so hard for me to keep up sometimes. But everyone was reporting approximately a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it was a week ago, though, that Tatiana Maslany was going to be playing Jennifer Walters in the SheHulk series. I'm sorry, I kind of buried the lead. This is about SheHulk. Well, just the other day, Tatiana was doing an interview and she said, no, I'm not actually. So the origin of this report comes from Deadline, which is usually a very solid source that everybody uses. They are considered one of the quote unquote trades, of which there are three: Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, and Variety. Everyone was saying this was a thing, and now Tatiana's like, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm not the one that's going to be doing this. So that has spurned rumors that we are, in fact, going to be seeing other actresses who have previously been rumored for the role in this role. We're not talking about any of that stuff in the rumor mill because we've already covered that, and there have been no new rumors necessarily. This is just kind of feeding old rumors. So that's what we have for follow-ups. Let's go check out the news, and first up is Day of the Dead. That's right, George A. Romero Day of the Dead is turning into a series. It is turning into a series on Syfy. They have optioned a 10-episode miniseries, so presumably we're only going to get the one, though it doesn't say limited series, so we could potentially get more of these mini-style series. But like most series anymore are only like 10 to 12 episodes, so I don't know why they made the distinction of mini, but Syfy is doing a miniseries based on, very, very loosely based on George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, which sounds pretty interesting. It does sound a little bit like they're going a little too teenage drama with it based off of the little bit of a synopsis that we got. If things get a little crazy in the next week or so, we will talk about this in more depth, but it's just an interesting, I want to see what happens, so we're going to keep tabs on it. Next, we're talking about Clive Barker, and Clive Barker has a number of of irons in the fire as far as TV streaming goes. First up for the irons in the fire is Ectokid, and then he also has a Nightbreed series in the works, which is, a book that he wrote, also a movie that happened in the 80s. And also there's Books of Blood, which we've talked about previously. I think the final count when I was doing the research for this was somewhere between 6 and 8 different series that are actively moving forward. And then there's another 2 to 3 that are being talked about and maybe potentially getting picked up. But right now he has somewhere, again, in the neighborhood of about 6 to 8 series that are moving forward with production. So we're going to be getting a lot of Clive Barker style horror in the very near future. So if you're a big Clive Barker fan, then hooray for you. I myself am a bit of a Clive Barker fan. My girlfriend is a huge Clive Barker fan. So there is that. We are moving on though. Now we're talking about Dexter. That's right. The show with Michael C. Hall is coming back. Actually, we're getting a limited series. So there is that word, limited series of, it's going to be a continuation of the story that we got originally on Showtime. It is going to be on Showtime again. It's not going to streaming yet, but probably it will eventually. It is coming to Showtime, and the assumption here is that we are going to see the quote-unquote real ending to what happened to Dexter, because he fakes his death at the end of the series. Spoiler alert for a series that's like 5 years old, at least 8 years old, something. But yeah, so Dexter, if you're a fan, I really dug it, so I'm super excited about that. And then our last piece in news is I Know What You Did Last Summer. Amazon is doing this one. We are getting a series based on the slasher. Now, according to the report, it is going to be a little bit more based on the book that the original movie was also based on. The book came out in 1973. It was written by Lois Duncan. It shares the same name, so, it's not a book of a different name. But it is not as much of a slasher per se as the movie was, so they are going to be leaning into the slasher elements, but also, again, according to the report, they're going to be borrowing heavily from the book, a little less from the movie, so on and so forth. That's all we know. Then now we're moving on to movies. We have a bunch of follow-ups, 3 follow-ups to be specific. First up is Monster Hunter. The new trailer has launched, and the fans are wicked divided on this. Actually, I wouldn't say wicked divided. I would say pretty hardcore not fans of this trailer because it is a pretty drastic deviation from the world that we know from the games. But the world that we know from the games kind of sets up the possibility that in the future we could get something like this, and being as we theoretically live in a future that is the future of the monster, it's convoluted, and honestly it's Paul W. Sanderson going, hey, I want to make a movie and put my own spin on it, kind of like I did with that Mortal Kombat stuff, even though, again, the fans' outcry for Mortal Kombat changed a few key things back in the day, so hopefully this will do the same, because I'm going to use one very specific example. So in the Mortal Kombat universe, the 2 characters that everybody knows, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, are very much enemies. And in that movie, they were not so much enemies. And in the original screenings, they did not have the line where Shang Tsung addresses the fact that they're enemies, only they're under his spell. And the fan outcry from that was so heavy that they added dialogue, they changed certain elements of the movie in order to accommodate what the fans deemed was appropriate for those characters. Now, the big issue with this trailer is that there is some American military stuff going on. It's kind of like Doom, the Rock version of Doom, only with monsters instead of aliens. And so it's very... I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the idea, though I do kind of like Paul W. Sanderson on a very superficial level, because he does, regardless what you have to say about his filmmaking necessarily, he does make fun movies, popcorn movies. So if you're expecting a good popcorn movie, I think you'll be all right. If you're going in expecting this to be just like the video games, you're going to be very, very sorely disappointed. Our next piece in follow-ups has to do with Peninsula. The follow-up to Train to Busan is coming to streaming into the States on October 27th on Shudder, so go check it out if you have Shudder, you have a friend who has Shudder, something along those lines. And then our final piece in follow-ups has to do with Twilight of the Mallrats. Kevin Smith has recently confirmed that the sequel will have basically everyone who was in the first movie, obviously with the exception of anyone who has passed on. I'm looking at you, Stan Lee. We miss you, bud. But aside from that, it sounds like the entire cast has signed on to come back. So that's pretty freaking awesome. And then our one piece in actual news for movies has to do with a new movie that was brought to my attention like 3 days ago. And then the very next day, I get a text from my father, who, God bless him, tries to keep up with nerd news and doesn't watch the show for some reason, but whatever. I got a text from him saying, Jiu Jitsu starring Nicolas Cage. What's this all about? Well, you see, Dad, I honestly don't know. I just learned about this. It's drawing a whole lot of comparisons to Mortal Kombat for reasons, and then I watched the trailer and went, oh, I can kind of see that. So, honestly, being a giant Mortal Kombat nerd, I can see some of the comparisons from Mortal Kombat. I also very much heavily see comparisons to Predator, which I haven't honestly heard anyone make that comparison yet, but it's like this weird bastard child of the Predator meets Mortal Kombat. And honestly, as much as I give Nicolas Cage grief in movies, this on paper sounds kind of awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I expect zero depth. I expect a fantastic action movie, a fantastic martial arts action movie, and I expect to come out of the theater eventually as theaters reopen. I expect to come out of the theater going, wow, that was a fun way to spend an hour and a half, but I learned absolutely nothing. So yeah, you can go check the link. There is a link down in the description. You can check that out and see for yourself what I'm talking about. And, you know, if there's other things that you pull away from it, let's have that conversation, man. But that is all of the movie news. And we've got just a few rumors to get through. So let's get through them, shall we? All right, our first rumor is another rumor about the Cara Dune potential series coming to Disney+. We've talked about this before. This is a new source that is reporting on it, with another news source also confirming that, yes, they are hearing the same thing. So we know that not Feige, I'm sorry. We know that Lucasfilm and Company and Disney Plus in general have made it very known that they want to continue in this universe as much as possible. So they have also said in no uncertain terms that they are going to do spin-offs and other Star Wars series for the Disney Plus platform. This is not surprising that a bunch of sources are saying, yeah, we're going to be doing a Cara Dune series, because Cara Dune is a very popular character, so on and so forth. So likelihood that this is happening, 70% likelihood. Now, I'm going to bump that up even. 80% likely that we are going to be seeing a Cara Dune series when all of the crazy virus nonsense has died down. So our next rumor has to do with the Chronicles of Riddick. The best thing that Vin Diesel has contributed to, and I'm sorry if you're a fan of the Fast and Furious or the Pacifier or Triple X even, but I honestly, and we can have this discussion some other time, but I honestly think that the Chronicles of Riddick movies and the franchise in general, comic books and video games included, is some of the best stuff that Vin Diesel has added to the cultural lexicon ever, at all, period. That is the end of the statement. So there is now a rumor that his fourth movie? Fourth? Third? Whatever. The next movie, Chronicles of Riddick Furia, which is the planet that Riddick comes from, is not only actively moving forward, but is actually actively courting Karl Urban to join the project. There have been no confirmations on either of these things, so that's why they're in rumors, and we're going to talk about likelihood percentages. So likelihood that they are moving forward with Furia, I think it's just freaking time that they do it, so I want that to be 100%. Honestly, because there is no confirmation from the studio, we're going to say that's really probably about a 70% likelihood that they're moving forward, and the fact that they're looking for Karl Urban to do, the rumor does specify that it is going to be a cameo, so it's going to be very, very brief cameo. So that kind of increases the likelihood that they, again, this is that they want Karl Urban, not that Karl Urban is going to be in the movie. They haven't signed anything. There are no rumors saying that Karl Urban is interested in signing anything. So we will cross that bridge when we get there. But the likelihood that they want him for it, 100%. Karl Urban is huge right now, and he was in the last Chronicles of Riddick movie, so there you go. And then we're talking our last rumor already. It was that short, huh? 3 rumors. All right. So this last rumor has to do with Joker and Harley. Remember years ago, we were talking about the fact that Warner Brothers was looking to do a plethora, bulbous bouffant plethora, macadamia. Okay, sorry. Plethora of movies featuring Joker and Harley, and one of those was going to be a movie that was just between the two of them for Joker and Harley. And then that got shelved really quick when the Suicide Squad did horribly. So the new rumor is that the Warner Brothers studio is actively back in the business of doing a Joker and Harley movie. I'm sorry, I almost said book and series, and neither of those are a thing. But a Joker Harley movie. And no word yet if they're going to recast either of the roles. Specifically, I'm looking at the Joker, but it is rumored that they are looking into going back into pre-production on this project. So, likelihood that this is a thing. With the previous rumor that we talked about with Jared Leto potentially wanting back in as the Joker, I feel like that kind of very, very small, but kind of lends a little credence to this. And, you know, for the person, whatever, I'm not going to address that, but whatever. So we're going to likelihood that they're going into pre-production or they're considering a pre-production phase for this movie. I'm going to say that's 50-50. It's still very, very uncertain, the future of most movies, so I can't go further beyond what this rumor says. But that is what we have for rumors, guys. And that does it for this episode of Headlines Nerds. For more in-depth conversation on the nerd news, you can join me on my personal YouTube channel, Generally Nerdy, where we get into other topics in nerdy news region, like comic books and gaming and tech and so on and so forth. So, and the format is probably going to be changing. I'm playing with ideas for what the new format's going to look like come season 3. So definitely stay tuned for that. While you're here, though, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all of the Big Show entertainment media platforms, especially, again, the YouTube channel, because we are doing the push for 1,000. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we will be giving away a PlayStation 5. Thank you very much, nerds, for joining me. And tune in next time for all that's happening across the nerd world.